What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video where we're going to be working on a '89 Mazda RX7. We're going to start it off like always, and we're going to drill these little bits out so we can crack it open. Now, this video is a special one. This mod is for my buddy Doug. He donated a nice big bag of his son's old Hot Wheels cars, but the condition was that I modified an RX7, which was one of his first cars and his favorites. So this one's for you, Dougie. So now that we popped those off, we are going to take it apart. We won't be needing that. So at this point, I really didn't know what I was gonna do with the windshield or the back window. So I decided to try something new and throw some tracing paper on there, shine a light underneath it, and really just outline the windshield itself. Now that I have the outline of the windshield, I played with a couple different options and finally came up with this one. As far as the back, I still really didn't know what I was going to do at this point, but I figured we'd support it with some bars, so I just took some toothpicks and kind of glued them into place. So what I'm doing here is I added a bar on the top just so it's like a smooth transition, and we're gonna just put the bolts in. Again, what we're using is the supports from other 3D prints, and we'll just snip those down to size afterwards. What I've done is use some old cereal box on the sides just to create some armor along the side windows. And we'll also add some studs in there as well. And every car needs its weapons, so we got some missiles for the top of this car. And I finally figured out what I wanted to do with the back. I 3D printed out a little fuel tank. For the back of this, I found this really cool file for a studded bumper. Now I also added a piece of foam to act as a little piece of steel added on just to really close that off and make it flow. All right, and Doug told me he really wanted this thing jacked up with weapons, just a killing machine. So I think I'm gonna add a couple machine guns to each side. Now I felt there was a bit of a disconnect, that they needed to be attached to something just to bring it all together. So I found an old wire, and what I'm going to be doing is gluing that from the fuel tank to the machine guns, and I guess that's how we're going to power those guns. So now that those are attached, you can see that just really brings it all together and looks really, really cool. All right, so now we just find something to hot glue this car to act as a base for painting, and in my case today, it's a can of hairspray, and it's prime time. All right, so now that that's dry, we're gonna start with the base coat. Now, I really wanted to make this a post-apocalyptic version of Doug's car. So I shot him a message and asked him what color his car was, and he told me it was gray. So this part of the video won't be too exciting as it's basically a shade of gray going on gray, but it'll all come together once we add the rust effects and everything else. So let's tough it out through this little part here, and we'll start seeing it come together when we add the other effects. All right, so we're gonna do the same rusting technique as we did in our first video. Step one, with a wet brush, some burnt umber, and we're just gonna go around the edges, staying away from the middle, and we'll do it around the seams and places that a car would normally rust. All right, so step two, we're gonna be using burnt sienna. We wanna water this down, not to a complete wash, but close. And that's just gonna add some highlights. And again, remember when you're doing this technique, you wanna make sure the paint is wet. You wanna have that blend when it dries. And for the last step, we're gonna be using espresso. Now again, this is just a wet brush. You want it a little bit thicker, and you're just gonna kind of dab that randomly over the same areas. I usually do it around the wheel wells and the back bumper, just kind of where mud and stuff would kick up. All right, we're gonna get our metallic silver, and we're just gonna go over all the metal pieces, all the metal plates, the weapons. And we obviously don't want this metal to look shiny and new, so I did a wash of like a dark brown and black, and we're just gonna brush this over all the metal plates and metal areas, the guns, just to kind of dull that down and make it look oily and grimy, just to take that shine away. Okay, you want to take a sponge now, and I believe I used orange and a little bit of yellow color. I can't remember, but basically you can do it with just orange, just to add that bright pop of rust. Now this is, you're just gonna dab this in certain areas. You don't want overkill. This is just highlights to kind of make the rust pop. And then we're gonna finally go back to a little bit of that metallic silver, and you're just gonna stipple brush that just in certain areas where the metal's been scratched down to the bone. You can do as little or as much of this as you want. And there we have it. This is the finished RX7 modification for my buddy Doug. I think it turned out great, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. So leave me a comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Because as mentioned at the beginning, the trade-off for this was a bag full of Hot Wheels cars to be modified. And the next one is gonna be fun. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and until then, I'll catch you in the next one.